Latonya. Hey, Ray. How are you, ladies? I'm so excited to be back on Let's Get Personal for the ABCs of Finance segment. My name is Meca McLendon. I am the founder and CEO of Amazing Rare Rubies. For those of you who really know me, you know that finances are very near and dear to my heart. Because by the time I was in my mid-30s, I was a single mother of two, a 3-time divorcee, and I was in over $30,000 worth of debt. But it only took one encounter with God where he reminded me that I was so much more than what I had become. And it was then that I truly found the courage to start my own journey to becoming spiritually, becoming mentally, and yes, becoming financially. And that's what this ABC of Finance segment is all about. We are here to encourage you to start your own personal journey to becoming financially. So today, I want to share with you from a topic of it's all about the funds. It's all about the funds. Because there are two types of funds that I truly believe should be in every single person's portfolio. And I know when you hear that portfolio word, we begin to think it's got to be large and elaborate and it needs to be full of stocks and bonds and mutual funds. Hey, that kind of rhymes, right? But no, it doesn't. A financial portfolio is strictly a grouping or a list of your assets. That's it. And I believe there are two funds that should be part of everybody's list, everybody's group. Those two funds are an emergency expense fund and a living expense fund. Emergency expense fund and a living expense fund. So what are they? What is an emergency fund? What is a living fund? What are they? So an emergency fund is simply where you have taken money, set it to the side for unplanned minor emergencies. Unplanned minor emergencies. And a living expense fund is where you've taken money, you set it to the side for major unplanned emergencies. Now, why are these so important? Why are these two funds important? Well, here's the thing. When you have 78% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck and 60% of Americans, over 60% actually, of Americans cannot afford a $1,000 emergency. That tells us that it is imperative that we begin to get these funds into place. They're needed for those unplanned emergencies. So what do they do for us? Well, if you have a minor unplanned emergency, right? That's your emergency expense fund. You have a minor unplanned emergency like a flat tire, or you need to go to urgent care, or maybe a small appliance broke. Well, if you have that emergency expense fund, you're able to cover that without getting yourself into any additional debt. Yay, right? We love that, right? And then with a living expense fund, if something happens drastically, like you've lost your job, oh my gosh, look at the times we're in right now. So many people have lost their jobs. You need a living expense fund that will cover you for that time period because you still have bills to pay. And one of the things I ask people to think about when they're deciding how much they should have in their living expense fund, which we're going to talk about that a little bit later, think of the 4 necessity pillars that we talk about in the ABCs of Finance webinar training, right? Those 4 pillars are housing, transportation, food, and utilities. Now, there are other things that we can add to that list that we would love to have, right? But if you lose your job and you're looking at the bare bones of what you need to maintain until you can find another job, you definitely want to maintain your housing. You definitely need transportation to get from point A to point B, even if that transportation is not your own car. It may be public transportation, right? Number 3, food. Oh my goodness, we need to eat. I know I like to eat. I'm sure you do too, right? We need to be able to have food. And then your utilities. We need lights, we need water, we need gas, we need heat, all that stuff, electricity. We need those. So those are the 4 areas I ask people to really, really think about as you begin to build your living expense fund. Now, how much do you need in these funds, right? Because we understand why we need them now, why they're critical. And another piece actually that you can add to critical is the fact that you have less stress because you got more money sitting to the side to handle one of those emergencies. That's always good. So how much do we need in these funds? Let's talk about that. How much do we need in each fund? Here's a rule of thumb I would give you. Okay. If you are a person making less than $24,000 a year, I would suggest that you put at least $500 in your emergency expense fund. If you're making more than $24,000 a year, work on getting to $1,000 in your emergency expense fund. Again, these particular funds, they're for minor emergencies, so they're not the cure, to everything. However, they are nice to have, right? If you have those unexpected emergencies come up. Okay. So $24,000 or less a year, shoot for $500. $24,000 or more a year, shoot for $1,000. Now, for your living expense fund, I'm going to break this one down a little bit more. Okay. Because the living expense fund is where we're looking for 3 or more months to cover your household expenses. And again, I personally suggest that people focus on those 4 because you're looking at the bare bones. You're not including all these wonderful luxuries we get to include now, like cable or, getting our hair and our nails done. Not when you're in a crunch, right? So I encourage you again to think about those 4 pillars. But for living expense, here's the rule of thumb I would give you. If you are a dual income family, and you are both salaried based. So you make $30,000 a year, $50,000 a year, you have a set salary, then I would suggest a minimum of 3 months, at least do 3 months, right? 3 months would be good. That's a good cushion to have. Now, if you are a dual income family and one is salaried and one may be commission and salaried, or both are commission based plus salary or just commission based, I would suggest you shoot for 6 months. Because when you're dealing with commission, your pay can go up and down, right? So 6 month cushion would be a little bit more stable if you're in a commission type job. Okay. Now, if you are a single income family or you're single, right? I would suggest, regardless of whether you're salary based or salaried and commission or just commission, 6 months. Do 6 months because it's just you, right? You don't have that second income coming in. It's just you to deal with those bills. So I would suggest that you look at 6 months. Now, you may be asking, okay, so I hear I need to do this. I'm understanding why it's important. I understand how to get to the number that's for me. Right? But where do I put these funds when I get them? And that's a big one because you don't want to put it with the rest of your money because we spend that. Got to be truthful with ourselves. But I would suggest putting it in a interest bearing account. So put it in like a savings account or a money market account, which is an account you can get your hands on. I would not suggest a CD. Do not put it in a CD because a certificate of deposit requires you to stay committed to it for X amount of time, right? And you want to be able to get your hands on the money if and when an unexpected emergency comes up, okay? So let's run through some tips of how you can start, right? That's always important. We want to give you great information, but we also want to equip you to be able to start your journey at the same time. So let's talk about that. First, I would say set your goal. Remember, I gave some guidance. If you make $24,000 or less or $24,000 or more, which one you should do. 500 for the lower end, 1,000 for the higher end. But set a goal for yourself for your emergency fund. Remember, I gave you the tips on living expense, how to break that down, looking at 3 to 6 months. Set a goal for yourself because you know your financial situation better than anyone. So number 1 is set your goal. Number 2, start putting aside money. Every piece of change counts. You break a $20 bill, they give you 35 cents back, put it to the side. Throw it in a jar. Remember when you were growing up or as grandparents, which I am now, right? We give our grandkids and stuff, piggy banks. Put it in the piggy bank. Won't hurt. So start putting that money aside. The third thing I would tell you to do is evaluate your small factor. If you've been to the ABCs of Finance training, you will know the small factor is that small stuff that we don't think about. The cup of coffee that we're stopping by every morning. ATM fees. Now that's a good one where we pay $20 to take out $20, but you pay $3 to take it out. Think about that small stuff factor. Number 4. Get a part-time job. Everybody's talking about side hustle. My side hustle, my side hustle, right? Right? We all know about the side hustle. Use your side hustle to put some money aside for your emergency fund or your living fund. Number 5, sell items that you no longer need. Everybody shops on Amazon now. Hey, sell it. One man's trash is another man's treasure. I would encourage you to sell some things that you no longer need. We all have things in our homes that we no longer need, right? And last but not least, to get more information on how you can get your finances together, reach out to us at Amazing Rare Rubies. We do have an ABCs of Finance webinar that will be coming up in August. That's next month, August. And it's every Tuesday in August from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. For more information, go to our website, www.amazingrarerubies.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's segment of the ABCs of Finance. Until next time, you guys make it a Ruby day. Latonya and Ray, thank you ladies so much. Stay blessed.